Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kurt, and welcome back to Stellarium. Oh, bringing back the old hits here on the KurtJMac channel. But yeah, we're back in Stellarium. For my new subscribers who don't know what the heck this is a planetarium software for looking at the night sky and what objects you could be observing in the night sky, astronomically speaking. I had the goal of doing one of these videos monthly, kind of doing a monthly star tour thing, but that obviously didn't work out too well, so I'm back. I have been reminded of this because a few people have been asking me, where's Stellarium? Where's your monthly Stellarium on Twitter? But even more, I sent out a tweet, for those of you on the Twitters, about I'm keeping an eye on telescope classified websites, and there was this one telescope, pretty much the exact thing I've been looking for, an 80mm APO, just awesome telescope that went for like much less than I've ever seen go. So I'm like, dang it, I missed these awesome telescope deals. But anyway, somebody who I've been following on YouTube for a while, Cheeb, her channel is I Am Cheeb. I'll put a link in the video description. Why not? She sent me a message in reply to that and said, "Oh, hey, I've been big into astronomy and space and stars and awesome stuff like that. So it was really cool to see your tweet." And it turns out that she used to have a telescope, but it got broken in transit or when she was moving, which really sucks. But she's got a good gaming commentary channel. I don't believe she does anything space related or astronomy related, but that just kind of got me kickstarted back into trying to get back into more astronomy themed things, checking out Stellarium. We are in a slightly updated version here. There's been a new release, 0.11.4. Mostly bug fixes and things like that, nothing too crazy. Although I did see, I don't think this was available before, they now have a separate 64-bit installation. For those of you with the 64-bit operating systems, you can take full advantage of all 64 of your bits. But yeah, anyway, here we are in Stellarium. The date is September 9th, 2012, the same day this video is coming out. We're just about at 8 p.m., just a little bit past local sunset, and right away you can see in the sunset, might be kind of difficult for you to see unaided, but we have Saturn and Mars are sort of on their way out. This is the last few weeks, last month or so, that Saturn and Mars are going to be up in the sky before we take a faster course around the sun and they end up going behind the sun. Of course, obviously, over on Mars, we have our Curiosity rover, who's been there for just a little bit over a month, starting to drive around, do awesome science and stuff like that. Some amazing pictures. I keep changing my desktop background on a near daily basis because of all the awesome panoramic pictures they come out with. But Mars is still visible in the night sky there, just barely. And of course, Saturn, not to be left behind. You'd be very lucky to get Saturn. You'd have to have a very clear and flat western horizon to get Saturn in a telescope after sunset, but Saturn's awesome. We also still have the Cassini mission going on around Saturn, still sending back amazing pictures of its moons. There's a recent awesome picture of Titan. It did kind of a flyby of Titan, and there's all these cool images of Titan and its atmosphere, and crazy awesome times going on right there. But yeah, so we're exploring the solar system, guys. But from the comfort of your backyards, this is a more familiar view right here. And I really don't have anything specific. I don't have like a script to go by, which I normally do, because honestly, even though I've been trying to do astronomy for the past 2-3 years, amateur astronomy, I've got a few telescopes, I still don't know 2% of the things to find in the night sky, so I might not be the greatest source for information, but whatever little information I can pass on, hopefully it inspires you guys to head outside or seek out your local astronomy club to take a look through their telescopes. But let's make it a little bit more darker here. I'm going to go, whoop, not the day, I want to change the hour. There we go. Let's get to about 10 p.m. What was that down there? Yeah, about 10 p.m. Here we go. And really, in my personal opinion, getting past summer and into the fall, at least for the Northern Hemisphere here, is probably my favorite time to go out and do some astronomy. And the obvious reason is right there in front of us. The Milky Way is very nice and prominent throughout the sky, just making a big Milky Way Milky Way throughout the night sky here, right directly above. And there's a lot of awesome stuff in the Milky Way. Aside from our solar system and Earth, there's really cool nebulas and things, especially down here. Down here, I'm actually, I should specify, I'm currently located in Chicago. That's actually where I'm located, but it's also a nice middle northern latitude where people, a lot of people can get have some familiar views. Whether or not you're further south, you'll see more of this stuff. If you're further north, you won't be able to see some of this southerly stuff, but it's a nice middle latitude, so I've decided to stick with it. Plus, they're the skies that I'm familiar with. But yeah, some amazing clusters and nebulas down here. There's the Lagoon Nebula. Yeah, there it is. Awesome. See, I remember this stuff. I haven't been out in almost a year to the dark sites, but if you're out at a dark site, the Lagoon Nebula, the Trifid Nebula, this is all near the center of the Milky Way. There's a lot of awesome, there's a lot of density there throughout the clouds of gas and things like that. Eagle Nebula is really awesome. I wonder if it looks like an eagle. Yes, it does. These are kind of Hubble pictures that they've put here. It's impressive, and actually a lot of these you can see at a very dark site with your naked eye. You can see little pink hues off in the distance. The Wild Duck Cluster, all very interesting targets. Look at all this stuff down here. All these Messier globular clusters and open clusters. Craziness. And this is the kind of stuff that we miss up here in the Northern Hemisphere during the winter, unfortunately, because obviously we're pointed a little bit further north in our tilt, and this stuff starts to go below the horizon. So now's the time to be seeing this stuff. It's directly overhead. Another very, I guess I can teach you how to find something. One of the first outside of the solar system objects I ever found when I got my new telescope was the Ring Nebula, which without even having the constellation lines on, pretty much, at least at this time of year, directly overhead, over your zenith here, you have Vega, very bright star, but that is part of, what is the name of the constellation? That's Cygnus right there. I forgot the name of the constellation. But basically, it's these four stars right here. It's a parallelogram. Is that the word for it? Parallelogram? Yeah, parallelogram. Kind of a lopsided rectangle. Between these two stars, furthest away from Vega, right smack dab in the middle, and I can actually probably just zoom in without selecting it. Actually, well, it's going to tell me where it is. I'm cheating. But yeah, pretty much right between these two stars is the old Ring Nebula, a very bright nebula, something that's really actually quite simple to find. One of the, when you become new to amateur astronomy, it is pretty much one of the early objects you'll end up seeing. But this is a planetary nebula. It's a dying star. That little white dwarf in the center is shedding all of its gases, and that's making this awesome ring. And it's it's a small object in the sky, but it's so close. I think, do they tell me how far away it is? I think I've memorized it. It's about 2,600 light years away. Close. But it's so close and so early on in its stages that these gas rings haven't diffused enough, so it's still got a lot of that luminosity from the dying star. And this is the kind of thing that our sun is going to go through in about 4 or 5 billion years, give or take. It's going to run out of its fuel, and then it's going to expand into a red giant, and then it's going to collapse once again, and all shed all of its gases and leftover remnants into space that will once again be recycled into making more stars and nebulas and planets and awesome stuff like that. But yeah, the Ring Nebula, let's be proper here and actually find out what the name of that constellation is. Lyra. And yeah, and there's that constellation, the parallelogram I was talking about before. Pretty much, and this is the way I've learned to find this next nebula. Where we had the Ring Nebula, we have Cygnus, the Swan here. I'll show the art. Ooh, the swan. There's its wings, there's its head right there. Pretty much, if you flip... Are you seeing my cursor? I hope you're seeing my cursor. If you flip pretty much exactly the opposite, say, in this region, you can use Sagitta to kind of point your way towards it. Over here, hopefully... Oh, well, I overshot it. Okay, yeah, okay, now I remember. It's kind of these two arrows, these two stars, kind of point you in the direction. The Dumbbell Nebula is also quite awesome. But it is a hard thing to find because there's not much, there isn't a constellation like near it. Like that was easy to find. Oh, just look right between these two stars. But the Dumbbell Nebula is not as easy to find. It's a little bit hidden. It's a little bit more diffuse. Same situation going on here. There's a white dwarf in the middle, a dying star that's shedding all of its gases. This one is a little bit further along in its process, but another very cool constellation, nebula, and object to look for. And this, like I said, is about the time of year that you want to be observing these objects because they're directly overhead. When you're observing something through the zenith, directly overhead, you're looking through less atmosphere, there's less distortion. So that's really something cool. And of course, all this stuff, all these nebula, are right here in the meat of the Milky Way, which makes sense. Because everything off to the sides either is a lot closer to us in the Milky Way or is going to be outside the Milky Way and you're looking at other galaxies and clusters and things like that. So there's always awesome stuff to see in the Milky Way. Where else things do we have going on here? Oh, naturally we have Pegasus over here. And it's a little bit early, but if you're out late, say past midnight, Pegasus rises, and let me turn off the constellation art because it actually is a little bit easier. I tend to draw my own lines in my head, but Pegasus is this big square in the sky, and its two hind legs. There's one of its legs, kind of a fainter, and then here's its other leg as it's trotting along. An easy way to find Andromeda, the galaxy Andromeda, is to go from its body, and then 1, 2 stars, and then you connect these 2 stars that are in its legs. And let me turn back on the art there. See every star chart kind of shows the lines differently. I've seen it before where you can actually draw a line between these 5 stars, and it's actually its 2 hind legs running. But to each his own. But yeah, you can basically draw a line between these 2 stars, and then equidistant, draw another imaginary line, and there is good old M31, the Andromeda Galaxy. This is a huge, huge object. In really dark skies, you can see it naked eye, big fuzzy object. It actually extends much further than this. It's just that with light pollution, it's very difficult to see that. It's actually, in terms of its apparent size in the sky, is wider than the moon, wider than the full moon. So it's a big old galaxy, and it's heading this way. And in a few billion years, we're going to collide. So yeah, that's another very prominent target for amateur astronomers. You need a very low power, otherwise you're going to be looking at it like this, and it's not really going to see much. It's also got its 2 satellite galaxies, M32 and M110. M110 is easy to find because it's pretty much far out there. M32 is a little bit more of a difficult target, just because you can confuse it. It's a little bit more dim. You can confuse it, and you really have to have a wide-angle eyepiece to look at the whole picture here. And it's really cool. Something that I've noticed they've added to Stellarium in the last few updates is the option to... Whoa, the ocular view. That's actually not what I was anticipating. Hey-oh! What is the ocular view? Hold on. We're learning together. That's probably a plug-in. Oculars. Oh, cool. You can, awesome. I'm going to have to do this. You can punch in your telescopes that you have and give them names, give the focal length and the aperture, and then you can put in what eyepieces you have, and then combining the two, it will simulate what these objects look like through this eyepiece through your telescope. Amazing. Clap. That's awesome. So yeah, that's another thing when you're looking at star charts. I have a paper star chart. I don't generally bring a computer out to the observing site simply because the screen, the monitor is way too bright and will really get people angry. You're destroying their night vision. But a really convenient thing is to have that kind of ocular view, because there's a huge disconnect from when we're looking at things here and say we draw the constellation lines and we're like, okay, this makes sense on paper or on the computer screen. But then when you go outside, it's a completely different ballgame in the dark skies. So it's really cool to have a kind of a view like that to kind of compare, because also with a reflecting telescope like my own, the image can be flipped backwards and upside down and 90 degrees. Or if you have a refractor and you go through a diagonal, your entire image is flipped because you're looking at a mirror. So that's really helpful. I did not know they added that. Yeah, I don't know what... okay, we're looking through a 40 millimeter, through a Stellarium 1400. I don't know what type of telescope that is, but we're looking... Yeah, this would be magnification, only 80 times magnification, and you can already see how... here's... We're looking at M32, the satellite galaxy of Andromeda, and then you can see, we can only see like 20% of Andromeda, so you're going to need a very low power view through to see the entire galaxy of Andromeda. Let's get out of that. Heyo, that's really cool. Awesome. We're learning new things here today in Stellarium. I guess another thing, while we're here, Cassiopeia, the big W. I think I've shown this before in a previous Stellarium video, but you take these two stars of the W, and just, once again, star hopping, you draw a straight line all the way down, and you got the double cluster. This is a much better binocular target. If you don't have a telescope, perhaps you have some, even just, cheapo sports binoculars that you use to watch a ball game or whatever. This is much better of an object for binoculars. They're two very open clusters. This image does not, this blurry computerized image does not do it justice, but hundreds of thousands of stars in your eyeballs all at once with just binoculars, seeing it like this, it's there's a lot of depth of field, a lot of closer stars and further away stars, these bright ones, these dim ones, all different colors. So I don't even think, with my lowest power eyepiece, with my telescope, I can't fit both of these clusters. It's called the double cluster, naturally, because it's two clusters. The astronomers don't mince words. They name them like they see them. So yeah, the double cluster, and that's even another thing you can see, even in pretty light polluted skies, you can see these two kind of bright fuzzy patches, naked eye. And actually, speaking of colors, since we've done galaxies, we've done nebulas, we've done clusters, let's look at another very popular fall time, late summer, early fall object up in Cygnus here. We've got Deneb, another bright star right there, but opposite of Deneb, in the head of the swan, Albireo looks just like a single star, doesn't it? But wait, there's more. You zoom in, Albireo is a double star. And the really cool thing about Albireo, and the reason you'll see a lot of people looking at Albireo through a telescope, is that keep tracking it, is that these two stars, I wonder if I can adjust this a little bit. This isn't doing it justice, but the two stars, you can kind of tell here, they're very starkly different colors. How do I... Aha! Turn off the twinkle? No, that didn't do it. Sort of, kind of like that. I'm trying to mess with the settings here. But basically, Albireo and its double star system, it's a red star and a blue star. You tell people you're going to see two different colors, red and blue. They think, like red and blue of like a police siren. But no, it's a little bit more faint than that. It's more of a faint orange and a faint cyan or something like that. But it's just a really beautiful kind of pairing of two different colors on these double stars. So I'll have to mess with these settings a little bit because there's dynamic eye adaptation and a bunch of crazy stuff like that. But yeah. So yeah, this is kind of the night sky according to early to mid-September, at least in the Northern Hemisphere. So much stuff to look at that it would take a long time to get through everything. But those are a few. When I go out and I don't have like a guide, or say I'm doing like a public event with the astronomy club, those are the kind of objects that I default to because I know where they are and I can actually say a few syllables about them. But I'd also like to, before we go, talk about another feature that was a few versions ago, but it was added to Stellarium. And I'm going to have to actually change the date to something a little bit more interesting. Let's go to September 16th, and we're going to do 5:57. Oh, the sun's a little bit higher there than I thought it was. Early morning, right before sunrise. Something that they've added, one of those plugins, satellites. And there she is, the International Space Station. Let's turn off all this other McGubbins. I wonder if there's... Hold on, let me configure stuff here. But yeah, there's a satellite flyover plugin that they've added to Stellarium. Let me see what I can do here. It gets its information from the internet. Let's hide the orbit lines. Oh, it's not going to actually show... I don't know what this is doing. I'm just pushing buttons to see what changes. But yeah, this is a kind of a new feature, and I went to this date because I looked up... let me back up once again. Let me just explain to people. You might not know this. You can see satellites fly over your house, most notably the International Space Station. It happens pretty regularly depending on where you're located on planet Earth. It either happens generally about an hour or two before sunrise or an hour or two after sunrise. And that's because the light that you see coming from the International Space Station or other satellites is actually the reflected light off of the sun. They don't actually have lights on them. They're not like airplanes. It's actually the reflected light, much like we see the moon, because it's the reflected sunlight off of the moon. And you only really see them before sunrise and sunset because otherwise, late at night, they're passing over your head of you still, but they're in the shadow of the Earth. They're not being illuminated by the sun. Also... you can't see them during the day, obviously, because you can't see stars during the day. But the International Space Station goes over quite frequently, and while it's kind of cool, I really want to show you what it looks like and how fast it passes overhead. And this was a particularly good view for me here. I think we get up to -3 magnitude, which is about as bright as Venus can get. Yeah, it's about as bright as Venus. Extremely bright. The satellites and the International Space Station kind of appear as solid, unblinking stars that are just slowly, or actually, technically, quickly, passing overhead, slowly and silently. You'd think they'd be an airplane, but there's no blinking lights. They're completely silent and steady in their course. And sometimes, what I was looking for was a way to get rid of all these hints, but with this flyover, because the sun is still rising, the Earth's shadow is still back here to the west. So you actually don't see the International Space Station until it comes out of Earth's shadow. So it just will suddenly blink on and then start passing across. And it's really a dramatic thing, especially when you start to think there's 6 people aboard that thing, about 300 meters into space, traveling at 17,500 miles an hour, just flying over. So that's a really cool thing. There's also other satellites and either rocket debris. I think Cosmos is a Russian rocket body, I think, that's visible. Other satellites are visible. It's some sort of Delta rocket stage or something like that. But even spy satellites and stuff like that. If you're closer to the equator, you can see Hubble fly over, because that's its ecliptic is a little bit closer to the equator. It doesn't get far enough north here for Chicago to see. But basically, this is a cool way to simulate when a flyover is going to happen. But the best way to predict, to look up, hey, when is the International Space Station going to fly over my house? Go to heavens-above.com. You can right there put in your coordinates or your city, do a quick search like that, set your local time zone, and then it can actually spit out a list, a nice handy chart that tells you, okay, the upcoming visible passes of the International Space Station, or even other satellites, or all satellites that are visible beyond a certain magnitude. And it'll give you a time, and I looked it up, and it said, okay, on September 16th at 5:59 a.m., which is just before sunrise, you're going to get a flyover, and it's going to be negative 3.3 magnitude, and it actually even gives you, if I can zoom out, it gives you kind of a chart like this, and it shows the constellations, just so you know. Obviously, it doesn't have this grass around here, but it's got this chart like this, and you can actually see the line and the path which the satellite is going to take over your house. So you can impress your friends, take them outside and say, all right, and then like count down to the exact minute. The International Space Station is coming in 5, 4, and then you can see it fly over together. So it's a really cool thing. And like I said, you can even, on that website, look up other satellites that are going to be flying over. It's really quite amazing, and I do remember quite a few times looking at the International Space Station simultaneously when a space shuttle is on its way there or departing. That was really cool because you could see the International Space Station and then just not far behind or in front, another point of light traveling at the same speed, the same distance, and that would be the space shuttle. So you'd be like, okay, there's 3 people in the International Space Station and 6 or 7 people in the space shuttle, and craziness right there. And you can also, they're a little bit more dim than the space shuttle, obviously, but you can also see, I think you could, I didn't try to look, I don't think I had any visible flyovers, but you could probably see the Dragon capsule when it went up to the space station, because it was kind of in a docked orbit, kind of coasting next to it for quite a while. You can also see the cargo ships, like the Soyuz. You can also see the HTV and the other cargo ships going to and from the International Space Station. So that's pretty dramatic to see 2 objects fly overhead at the same time. But there's always satellites and things flying overhead, very commonly getting mistaken for UFOs. They're not UFOs. They're totally identified. And you can find out all about them at heavens-above.com. Not at all affiliated or sponsoring my channel here, but it's just a really awesome, cool, free website where you can just look up this stuff and get excited about space and spaceflight and astronomy and stuff like that. So, I think at that wonderful, as the International Space Station drifts over the horizon, I'm in Chicago. As it drifts over the horizon, it's probably over New York, or oh no, it's going east. Yeah, it's probably over like New York or South Carolina by this time. That's how fast this thing goes. But yeah, thanks so much for watching this Stellarium video. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. I'll try to answer them, perhaps in a future video, or maybe I'll do something like Space Engine again or something like that. But I hope to continue and get a little bit more frequent with these astronomy and space videos, because I feel like it's something not a lot of other people are doing, especially in the realm of the YouTube Let's Play channel. So I want to keep this stuff up. It's really exciting to me, as you can tell, and I'm glad to hear that other people like Cheeb and you guys on Twitter who are letting me know are also into this stuff. So yeah, thanks again. My name is Kurt. I will see you next time.